Alright, this is ECE assignment 8. This is my second time recording. I was having some issues with my new computer, so here we go. For this assignment, we had to first fill in 4 different arrays, 4 different lists with 10,000 random elements, numbers between negative 50,000 and 50,000. And then after that, we had to kind of convert this into readable code for C. So to start with, we have our different functions that were needed for this. And then right in the beginning, I just defined all of my integer variables, and for this one, all of my lists, all the arrays are going to be filled with integers, so that's where I put those. And then we start this for loop that fills in all of the elements of the arrays, so it goes from element 0 to element 9,999 for all of them. And we have just this kind of random number generator type thing here to fill in like between the numbers, because random doesn't generate, you can't specify which numbers you want it between, so this is kind of like the way to write that out. So for every I that this loop runs through, we fill in something here for what the random number that we fill in will correspond with the I value. So that just ends up going through all of them in order and filling it up. And then we have list 2 equals list 1I, so of course we first fill in this, and then we equate this to that same element, and that's part of the assignment. Is we wanted all of the values to be the same in the list, just to make the system kind of fair and make sure that it just because like different numbers can run different times, so this is just a way to ensure that it is all kind of consistent along all the methods. So next we go to the bubble sort method. I started off just kind of like all the methods by defining the variables that we'll use for timing, and then we also have this double variable which we use later down here to make sure that this was in like the right form when we have it displayed down here. So first we did start time equals clock. This basically just records the time that this whole thing started at, and then we store it in this variable. So for the bubble sort method, we first start with one for loop going through every element in the list, and then we have another for loop which again goes through all the elements in the list. And here I'll go through like kind of this middle part first. So basically we're saying if the current element that we're looking at is bigger than the next element, then we want to switch them because we want to put the list basically in order. So this goes through every single element and switches them, and the reason that we need to have the second for loop is because it needs to go back through and continue switching them until the thing is all the way in order, because this just ensures that 2 elements next to each other are in order, and this just ensures that like we go through enough times and make sure that everything is in order. And then we have n underscore t equals clock, so we're basically recording the end time there. And then here we calculate total time, and then print to the user that what the elapsed time is for method 1. And that's it for the first method. Similar with the timing, basically did the same thing there. Of course I didn't need to redefine these, just kept those up there. So for this, we are going through every element of the list, and then we're setting j equal to I, and j would be like the current count basically. So we're saying that while j is greater than 0 and list 2 of the previous element is greater than list 2 of the current element, then we're switching them, and then we are reducing j by 1, and then again as we go through that we want to time it, so we have like the end time here, total time, and then we print and tell the user what the elapsed time is for method 2. Next is the selection sort method. Same, we're starting by recording the start time, flipping through all of the elements in the array or in the list. Then we have this I min equals j, and then we're saying for I equals j plus 1 to I is less than or equal to 999, and we're increasing by 1 each time, so it basically goes through j plus 1 to 999. And this again is like one of those things where we want to go through this part, and then, well, this basically switches each one by itself, but then it goes back through and switches all of them as needed. So then within this for loop, we have an if statement. If list 3i is less than list 3 of I min, then we redefine I min to be I. And then another if statement, if I min does not equal j, then we switch the values. And again, we're timing that and then telling the user what the elapsed time is for this third method. And lastly, we have the cocktail shaker method. Again, we're starting the clock when it starts this part of the code. First, we have this new variable that we call swapped. We're equating that to 1 to begin with, and we're saying while swapped is 1, first of all, redefining swap to be 0. So this makes it enter the loop, but now we're getting it back down to 0. So we're going through this for loop again for all of the elements in the list or like in the array. And here we're saying if list 4 of I is greater than list 4 of the next element in the list, then we want to swap the variables, and then we're defining swap to be 1. And then we're saying if swap does not equal 1, then we want to leave the loop, so we're doing a break here. And then redefining swap to be 0, and then we're going through another for loop, but this time instead of going from 0 or whatever to the top of the list, we're going from the very top of the list to down to 0. And this we're saying if list 4 of I is greater than list 4 of the next element, I plus 1, then we're going to switch them and then redefine swap to be 1. And, you know, it'll go just through all those different parts as needed. And then we have this here, which again tells the user what the elapsed time is for the method. Okay, now we'll see when we run the code. Immediately you can kind of see them go sequentially, like it'll go from one to the next, is how they display it. So it shows here for the different methods how many seconds it took. So if we kind of want to rank them, method 1 ranked last, method 4 ranked third, then method 3 ranked 2, and it looks like method 2 is the fastest, so we'll rank that one 1. And you can see, like, if we go through it a couple more times, like, the numbers change really just a little bit, but generally it does stay in that same structure where it goes in order 1, 4, 3, 2 for which ones are slowest to fastest. And that is it for this assignment.